Hello there, Sully here, the retired tanky anchor. Welcome to Three Chords and the Truth. Hey, want to do a good deed? Subscribe to my channel and like and share this video. And this video is a first for me. As you know, I do bio tribute videos about artists I admire, but they've all been solo artists so far. Well, that changes today. Today my bio tribute is the first to a band. The band. Yes, the band. Actually, I recorded this song intended to do a quickie, but soon thought about doing a bio tribute to Levon Helm, and then thought about it more and decided to do a tribute to the entire band. Wheel the pipes. The future members of the band first played together as the Hawks, the backing group for Toronto-based rockabilly singer Ronnie Hawkins. Levon Helm began playing with the group in 1957 and became their full-time drummer after graduating from high school in 1958. Helm journeyed with Hawkins from Arkansas to Ontario, where they were joined by Robbie Robertson, Rick Danko, Richard Manuel, and finally Garth Hudson. And while most of the Hawks were eager to join Hawkins' group, getting Hudson to join was a little bit more difficult. He earned a college degree in music and he planned on being a music teacher, and was only interested in playing rock music as a hobby. But the Hawks admired his wild, full-bore organ style and asked him repeatedly to join. Hudson finally agreed under the condition that the Hawks each pay him $10 per week to be their instructor and purchase a new state-of-the-art Lowry organ. All music theory questions were directed to Hudson. In late 1963, the group split from Hawkins over personal differences. They had grown tired of playing the same song so often and wanted to perform original material. And they were also, wary of Hawkins' heavy-handed leadership. So upon leaving Hawkins, the group was briefly known as Levon Helm Sextet, with a sixth member, saxophonist Jerry Penfound, and then as Levon and the Hawks after Penfound's departure. In 1965, they released a single on Ware Records under the name of the Canadian Squires, but they returned as Levon and the Hawks for a recording session for Atco later that year. Also in 1965, Helm and the band met blues singer Sonny Boy Williamson. They wanted to record with him, offering to become his backing band, but unfortunately Williamson died not long after their meeting. In 1970, the band set out on a tour of Canada as part of the Festival Express, which featured the Grateful Dead, Ian and Sylvia, Buddy Guy, Tom Rush, Janis Joplin, Sha Na Na, and a host of others. The Festival Express was basically a train trip where a mobile festival stopped in various cities across Canada, and during the trip, the musicians would gather in the assorted coaches and jam. Just about everyone on the tour claimed it was one of the best experiences of their lives, and it was basically a non-stop party where the musicians experienced a level of bonhomie they never had before. This tour is immortalized in a film called The Festival Express, available on DVD. And I think you can find it somewhere, maybe like on Tubi or Netflix or something like that. But anyway, I highly recommend that you check it out. It might even be on YouTube. In 1973, the band released a covers album, Moondog Matinee, with no tour or support of the album, and it garnered mixed reviews. However, on July 28th of 1973, they played at Summer Jam at Watkins Glen, a massive concert that took place at the Grand Prix Raceway outside Watkins Glen, New York. The event, which was attended by over 600,000 fans, also featured the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers Band. It was during this event that discussions began about a possible tour with Bob Dylan. By late 1973, Danko, Helm, Hudson, and Manuel had joined them, and the first order of business was backing Dylan on his album Planet Waves. The album was released concurrently with their joint 1974 tour, in which they played 40 shows in North America during January and February of 1971. Later that year, the tour was documented on the live album Before the Flood. By the mid-70s, however, Robbie Robertson was weary of touring. After Northern Lights Southern Cross failed to meet commercial expectations, much of the group's 1976 tour was confined to theaters and smaller arenas and secondary markets, culminating in an opening slot for the Ascended ZZ Top at the Nashville Fairgrounds in September. In early September, Richard Manuel suffered a severe neck injury in a boating accident in Texas, prompting Robertson to urge the band to retire from live performances after staging a farewell concert, which was known as the Last Waltz. Following an October 30th appearance on Saturday Night Live, the event, which included turkey dinners for the audience of 5,000, was held on November 25th, Thanksgiving Day of 1976, at the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco, and featured a horn section with arrangements by Alan Toussaint and an all-star lineup of guests, including Canadian artists Joni Mitchell and Neil Young. Two of the guests were fundamental to the band's existence and growth, namely Ronnie Hawkins and Bob Dylan. Other guests that they admired, and in most cases had worked with them before, included Muddy Waters, Dr. John, Van Morrison, Ringo Starr, Eric Clapton, Ron Wood, Bobby Charles, Mavis Staples, Neil Diamond, Paul Butterfield. The concert was filmed by Robertson's friend, filmmaker Martin Scorsese. And for many people, it's as much a part of Thanksgiving as Alice's Restaurant, by the way. Helm later wrote about the Last Waltz in his autobiography, This Wheel's on Fire, in which he made the case that it had been primarily Robert Robertson's project and that Robertson had forced the band's breakup on the rest of the group. Robertson offered a different take in a 1986 interview. Quote, I made my big statement, I did the movie, I made a 3-record album about it, and if this is only my statement, not theirs, I'll accept that. They're saying, well, this was really his trip, not our trip. Well, fine, I'll take that best music film that's ever been made and make it my statement. I don't have any problem with that, none at all, unquote. The original quintet would perform together one last time on March 1st, 1978, after the late set of a Rick Danko solo show at the Roxy. The group performed Stage Fright, The Shape I'm In, and The Wait for an encore. Although members of the group intended to continue working on studio projects, they drifted apart after the release of Islands in March of 1977. They resumed touring in 1983 without Robertson. Accomplished musician from Woodstock, New York, Jim Weider was the new lead guitarist. Robertson had found success with a solo career and as a Hollywood music producer. As a result of their diminished popularity, they performed in theaters and clubs as headliners and took support slots in larger venues for one-time peers such as the Grateful Dead and Crosby, Stills and Nash. Now, after a performance in Winter Park, Florida on March 4th, 1986, Manuel hanged himself in his motel room. He had suffered for many years from alcoholism and drug addiction. He'd been clean and sober for several years beginning in 1978, but he began drinking and using drugs again by 1984. His position as pianist was filled by old friend Stan Cellist, who died not long after, and then by Richard Bell. Bell had played with Ronnie Hawkins after the departure of the original Hawks and was best known for his days as a member of Janis Joplin's Full Tilt Reggae band. Full Tilt Boogie Band. Can't even read my own handwriting when it's typed. The band was inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame at the 1989 Juno Awards, where Robertson was reunited with original members Danko and Hudson. With Canadian country rock superstars Blue Rodeo as a backup band, Music Express called the 1989 Juno appearance a symbolic passing of the torch from the band to Blue Rodeo. In 1990, Capitol Records began to re-release the records from the 1970s. The remaining 3 members continued to tour and record albums with a succession of musicians filling Manuel and Robertson's roles. The band appeared at Bob Dylan's 30th anniversary concert in New York City in October of 1992, where they performed their version of Dylan's When I Paint My Masterpiece. In 1993, the group released their 8th studio album, Jericho. Without Robbie Robertson as a primary lyricist, much of the songwriting for the album came from outside of the group. Also that year, the band, along with Ronnie Hawkins, Bob Dylan, and other performers, appeared at U.S. President Bill Clinton's 1993 Blue Jean Bash inauguration party. In 1994, the band performed at Woodstock 94. Later that year, Robertson appeared with Danko and Hudson as the band for the second time since the original group broke up. The occasion was the induction of the band into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Helm, who had been at odds with Robertson for years over accusations of stealing songwriting credits, did not attend. In February of 1996, the band with the Crickets recorded Not Fade Away, released on the tribute album Not Fade Away, Remembering Buddy Holly. The band released 2 more albums after Jericho High on the Hog and Jubilation in 1998. Or, 1998. The latter of which included guest appearance by Eric Clapton and John Hyatt. Helm was diagnosed with throat cancer in 1998 and was unable to sing for several years, but eventually regained the use of his voice. In 1998, the group revealed they were working on a follow-up album to Jubilation that had not been released. The final song the group recorded together was their 1999 version of Bob Dylan's One Too Many Mornings, which they contributed to the Dylan tribute album Tangled Up in Blues. On December 10th, 1999, Rick Danko died in his sleep at the age of 55. Following his death, the band broke up for good. The final configuration of the group included Richard Bell on piano, Randy Ciolate on drums, and Jim Weeder on guitar. In 2000, Robertson bought all of the other members' financial interests in the group, with the exception of Helms, giving him major control of the presentation of the group's material, including latter-day compilations. Richard Bell died of multiple myeloma in June of 2007. The band received a Lifetime Achievement Grammy Award on February 9, 2008, but there was no reunion of former members. In honor of the event, Helm held a memorable Midnight Ramble in Woodstock. He continued to perform and release several albums. On April 17, 2012, it was announced at Helm's official website that he was in the final stages of cancer. He died 2 days later. In December 2020, it was announced that the third album of the band, Stage Fright, would get an expanded reissue. The album has alternate versions of some songs. Robbie Robertson died at the age of 80 on August 9, 2023, after battling prostate cancer. With Robertson's death, Garth Hudson is the last surviving original member of the group. In 1977, Rick Danko released his eponymous debut solo album, which featured the other four members of the band on various tracks. In 1984, Danko joined members of the Byrds, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and others in the touring company that made up the Byrds' 20-year celebration. Several members of the tour performed solo songs to start the show, including Danko, who performed Mystery Train. Danko also released 2 collaborative albums with Eric Anderson and Jonas Field, along with some live and compilation albums in the 1990s and 2000s. Many of the later records were produced by Alan J. Hurwitz and are on the Breeze Hill Woodstock Records label. In the late 70s and 80s, Helm released several solo albums and toured with a band called Levon Helm and the RCO All-Stars. He also began an acting career with his role as Loretta Lynn's father in Coal Miner's Daughter. Helm received praise for his narration and supporting opposite Sam Shepard in 1983's The Right Stuff. In 1997, a CD by Levon Helm and the Chromatics, Souvenir, was released. Beginning sometime in the 1990s, Helm regularly performed Midnight Ramble concerts at his home and studio in Woodstock, New York, and toured. In 2007, Helm released a new album, an homage to his southern roots called Dirt Farmer, which was awarded a Grammy Award for Best Traditional Folk Album. Electric Dirt followed in 2009 and won the inaugural Grammy Award for the Best Americana Album. His 2011 live album, Ramble at the Ryman, won in the same category. Helm also collaborated with the Hooters on the song Give Me a Stone, recording it with members of the group. Another film that Helm was in, by the way, was called End of the Line, which he starred with Wilford Brimley and Kevin Bacon. Every member was a multi-instrumentalist. There was little instrument switching when they played live, but when recording, musicians could make up different configurations in service of the songs. Hudson, in particular, was able to coax a wide range of timbres from his Lowrey organ. Helm's drumming was often praised. Critic John Carroll declared that Helm was the only drummer who could make you cry, while prolific session drummer Jim Keltner admits to appropriating several of Helm's techniques. Producer John Simon is often cited as a sixth member of the band for producing and playing on music from Big Pink, co-producing and playing on The Band, and playing on other songs through the band's reunion album Jericho. Through the years, besides Danko, Hudson, Manuel, Robertson, Helm, Weeder, Zellist, Cirlante, and Bell, they have also jammed with the likes of, I guess Ry Cooder sat in with them on a few sessions, Jim Keltner, musicians like that. They influenced numerous bands, songwriters, and performers, including the Grateful Dead, Eric Clapton, George Harrison, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Led Zeppelin, Elvis Costello, Elton John, Fish, and Pink Floyd. The album music from Big Pink in particular is credited with contributing to Clapton's decision to leave the supergroup Cream. In his introduction of the band during Bob Dylan's 30th anniversary concert, Clapton announced that in 1968 he had heard that album, quote, and it changed my life. The band Nazareth took their name from a line in The Wait. Guitarist Richard Thompson has acknowledged the album's influence on Fairport Convention's Liege and Leaf, and journalist John Harris has suggested that the band's debut also influenced the spirit of the Beatles' Back to Basics album. No, can't even read what I write. It influenced the Beatles' Back to Basics album Let It Be, as well as the Rolling Stones string of roots-influenced albums that began with Beggar's Banquet. George Harrison has said that All Things Must Pass was heavily influenced by the band, and that while writing the songs he imagined Levon Helm singing it. Meanwhile, The Wait has been covered numerous times in various music styles. In a 1969 interview, Robbie Robertson remarked on the group's influence. Quote, "We certainly didn't want everybody to go out and get a banjo and a fiddle player. We were trying to calm things down a bit, though. What we're going to do now is go to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and record 4 sides, 4 psychedelic songs. Total freak me songs, just to show that we have no hard feelings, just pretty good rock and roll," unquote. In the 90s, a new generation of bands influenced by the band began to gain popularity, including Counting Crows, the Wallflowers, and the Black Crowes. Counting Crows have also recorded at Helm's studio in Woodstock. A tribute album entitled Endless Highway, the music of the band released in 2007, included contributions from My Morning Jacket, Death Cab for Cutie, Gomez, Guster, Bruce Hornsby, Jack Johnson, and ALO, Leanne Womack, the Allman Brothers Band, Blues Traveler, Jacob Dylan, Roseanne Cash, and others. Members of Wilco, Clap Your Hands Say Yeah, The Shins, Dr. Dog, Yellowbirds, Ween, Further, and other bands staged a complete Last Waltz in 2012 and 2013. Their performances included all 41 songs from the original 1976 concert in sequence, even those edited out in the film. Musical director Sam Cohen of Yellowbirds claims that the name is pretty ingrained in me. I've watched it probably 100 times. Oh, the movie is ingrained in me. See, I can't read what I'm writing here. An incarnation of the band's legacy, the Wait Band originated inside the barn of Levon Helm in 2012 when Jim Weeder and Randy Solante, both former members of the band, were performing songs of the band with Garth Hudson, Jimmy Vivino, and Byron Isaacs. In 2017, PBS's Infinity Hall Live program began airing a televised performance by the Wait Band featuring band covers and new music by the band. They are also the subjects of the 2019 documentary film Once Were Brothers, Robbie Robertson and the Band, which premiered at 2019 Toronto International Film Festival. Wow, it's amazing how I took a 4-minute video and turned it into half an hour. And having trouble reading my own script here. Well, maybe not that long, but here's my song for today, Up on Cripple Creek, and I hope you like it. first of all, if you're still here, I'm glad you hung around. And after all that, if you're still not subscribed to my channel, what's wrong with you? Get with the program. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like and a comment. It doesn't cost you anything. Anyway, thanks for viewing. For 3 Chords of the Truth, I'm Sully, the retired tank yanker. Safe and happy travels.